Hello students, today we will see our fifth chapter is design concept. Here the software designing is the actual process of envisaging and defining some software solutions to one or more sets of the problems, and this designing is the process through which requirements are translated into the exact blueprint of constructing the software processes. Here the software designing concept is here, and in these concepts encompasses the set of principles, concepts and practices that lead to the documents of the high quality system or product. Here this is the syllabus for design concept chapters. Then first is a design process, then design concept and the design model. Then first we will see the introduction for design concept. Here the design principles which establish an overriding philosophy that guides the designing work we must perform. Here design concept must be understood before the machine of the design practices that are applied. Then design practices itself lead to the creation of the various representations. That means the software serves as a guide for the constructions and activities that are the follows. Then here software designing is the process through which requirements are translated into a blueprint for constructing the software. Here the software designing encompasses the set of principle, concept and practices that lead to the development of high quality system or product. Then software engineering. In software engineering, the software design is defined as both the process of the defining architectures, components, interfaces and other characteristics of a system or a component, and the result of the processes. A result of that processes, this is called as the software designing. The software designing serves as the foundation for all the software engineering and the software support activities that follows. Most software designing changes continually as new methods, better analysis and a broader understanding evolutions. Here this is the translating analysis model and a requirement, that means a requirement model into the designing model. Here the software design is applied regardless of the software processes model that are used in software engineering. The beginning software requirement have been analyzed, specified. Then software design is the first of three technical activities. That means designing, then code generation and test. These are the three technical activities that are required to build and verify the software. And each activity transform into informations into a manner that are ultimately result in the validations in computer software. Then each of the elements of the analysis model provides information that is necessary to create the four design models which is required for the complete specification of the design. See, this is the figure. It contains four designing models. These are the four designing models. And then first is data designing. It also known as the class designing. Then second is architectural design. Third is interface design. And fourth is component level designing. Here this is the flow of information during the software designing. Here the component level designing, which is connected to the process specifications and control specification. Then interface designing, which is connected to the data flow diagram. Then architectural designing which is the control specification and entity relationship diagram. that means ERD diagrams. And fourth is data designing, which is connected to the state transmission diagram and data dictionary here. Then here the four designing models. Then first is a data or class diagram. Transform the analysis classes into the designing classes along with that data structures required to implement the softwares. And the second is architectures design, which defines the relationship between major structural elements of the software. And architectural styles and design patterns, which is help to achieve the requirements defined for the system. Then interface designing, which is describe how the software communicate with system that interoperate with it and with humans that use it. And the last designing model is the component level designing, which is transform the structural element of the software architectures into a procedural description of the software component. Then next concept is a design process. The design process comprises a set of principles, concepts and practices which allows a software engineering to model the system or product that is to be built. And the model is also is known as the design model, and which is assessed for quality review before a code generation and tests are conducted. Then a design model provides details about the software data structures, then their architectures, interfaces, then which components which are included in the designing model, while they are required to implement the actual system. Then here the software designing is an iterative process through which requirements are translated into a blueprint for constructing the software. As a designing iterations occurs and subsequent refinements lead to design representations as much lower level of abstraction, and this can still be traced to requirements, but the connection is more subtle. Here the software designing is an iterative process through which requirements are translated into a blueprint for constructing the software. Initially, the blueprint depicts a holistic view of the software. That means here the designing represented at a high level of abstractions, a level that can be directly traced to the specific system objectives and more detailed data, functional and behavioral requirements. These design processes taken by into processes. Then first is software quality guidelines and their attributes, and second one is the evolution of the software designing. Then we will see the first software quality guidelines and their attributes. Here one of the MC Golin suggests the three characteristics that serves the guideline for the evaluations of the good designing. Then design must be implement of all the explicit requirement contained in the requirement model. Then second is design must be readable and understandable. And third is designing should be provide a complete picture of the software and they are addressing the data. Here design quality guidelines in order to evaluate the quality of designing representations, you and other members of the software team must establish technical criteria for good designing, and for the time being consider the following quality guidelines. Here 8 guidelines are included. Then first is a design should exhibit an architecture that has been created using recognizable architecture styles or patterns. And second is it's composed of components that exhibit good designing characteristics, then can be implemented in an evolutionary fashions, thereby facilitating implementations and testing. Then second guidelines is designing should be modular, that is the software should be logically partitioned into the elements or the subsystem. Then third is a designing should contains a distinct representation of the data, architectures, interfaces and their components. Then fourth is a design should lead to data structures that are appropriate for the classes to be implemented and are drawn from a recognizable data patterns. Then fifth is a design should lead to components that exhibit independent functional characteristics. Then a design should lead to interfaces that reduce the complexity of the connections between components and with the external environment. Then a design should be derived using the repeatable methods that is driven by the information obtained during the software requirement analysis. And the last guideline is a design should be represented using notations and that effectively communicate its meaning. Then second way is here evolution of the software designing. Software evolution is a term which refers to the process of developing software initially and then timely updating it for various reasons, that is to add new features or to remove obsolete functionalities, etc. In software engineering, software evolution is referred to the process of developing, maintaining and updating software for various reasons. Here the software changes are inevitable because there are many factors that change during the life cycle of the piece of software. Then here some of these factors included like requirement changes, then environment changes, errors or security breaches, then new equipment added or removed, then improvement to the system. Here the evolution of the software designing is a continuing process, that means how now there span more than the 6 decades. Early designing work concentrated on the some criteria for the development and modular programs and methods for refining software structures in a top down structure manner. Newer designing approaches propose as an object oriented approach to design the derivations. Here, growing the emphasis as the object oriented methods, model driven development, and test driven development emphasize technique for achieving more effective modularity and architectural structures in the designing that are created. The number of designing methods growing out of the work just noted and being applied throughout the industry. It having including some analysis method which having the number of common characteristics, mechanism for translation the requirements model into the design representation, then representing functional components, then refining and partitioning and guidelines for the quality assessment. These concepts are considered in the designing concept also.